Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
This guy next text from Arthur Idala. He was talking to Alan Dershowitz yesterday. I got to tell you, I'm still really honored. Alan Dershowitz writing a brand new book. And if you would have told me 20 years ago or longer that Alan Dershowitz, the brilliant attorney, just in a different league than me, if you would have told me that Alan Dershowitz was writing a book and was going to do a whole chapter on me. I know it's the two words that I said, says who, when I was kicked out of the State of the Union a couple of years ago, Joe Biden's, of course, not President Trump's, that Alan Dershowitz was going to write a book and do a whole chapter on me. I would have said you were nuts, but it's true. Alan was on the show a couple of days ago. He was on with Artie yesterday, but he's actually doing that. So that is a huge honor, humbled that the great Alan Dershowitz thought about me and would include me in his next book. And all of his books do very, very well. Talking about doing very well, I say this all the time, and you can pick the order. King, Giuliani, Giuliani, King, I don't care. The two best politicians in New York in my lifetime, and if God is good to me, I'll be 59 in April. Peter King and Rudy Giuliani, the former great congressman from Long Island, Homeland Security. He's done it all. My dear friend Pete King joins us this morning. Peter, good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing okay, but here's the story. I woke up this morning and I hear you're in a parking lot getting a colonoscopy. I felt like just turning off the lights and going back to bed. I mean, what a way to begin the day. Come on. Like, what a thought. What an image. It was just terrible.
God. How do you think I felt when I pulled up to this parking lot at 4:45 in the morning? But I got to tell you, it's been nice. This trolley, you've been on this trolley before, Peter King, the WABC trolley. It's beautiful. It really is. And spacious and easy to do a show in here. So if John wants to do a show maybe at the St. Patrick's Day Parade or something, this thing does a good job. So we are here, you're right, at the same people that did my colonoscopy going on 2 weeks on Saturday. They did a great job, and I recommend to any man 40, 45, 50, 55, no matter how old you are, above the age of 45, to get yourself a colonoscopy. If you haven't had one, or it's been a couple of years, get one as soon as possible. Peter, let's get to Iran.
It's a real public service. I mean, I've been getting them the last, on and off the last 15 years, but every 5 years you get them. And my sister's a nurse. She's the one who forced me to get it. Also, I got a routine endoscopy a few years ago, endoscopy, whatever they call it. Just for some, it's a reflux. There's nothing there, except they found out I had stomach cancer. And I had no symptoms at all. So if I hadn't gotten that test, I wouldn't be on your show. But yeah, remember, I actually...
Oh, my God.
You're so heartless. I got operated on Monday, and you made me do the show on Wednesday from my hospital bed. That was 3 years ago.
I remember doing that, and I felt zero remorse. Zero.
I know that. But I got it done in Long Island Jewish Hospital. You should have been happy about that.
I know. I remember that. Oh, now I do remember that. Did I know, in all seriousness, while we're joking about this, did I know it was stomach cancer? Did I know that?
Yeah. I don't know what you know. I never know what you know, sis.
Yeah, I know a lot of stuff. Well, I'm glad you turned out to be okay, because we love you and you're great on this show, especially when we have conversations like this. I mean, certainly you did an amazing job in New York on Long Island, and people like Joe Cairo and Bruce Blakeman and even a young guy like Mike LaPetri about to run against Tom Swazi, they all rely on you for your expertise, as they should. But when it comes to world affairs, Pete, very few, if any, better than you. So let's get to Iran. You've heard me say it again, time and time again. Part of the reason why I was so angry with the mayor and everybody else was because, and I apologize 10 times today now, was because I was so happy to see somebody finally make Iran accountable for nearly 5 decades of murder. And then we killed the Khomeini, and I couldn't think of a better way to start my weekend than to see that. So you know how I feel. I am, like Gordon Chang, like Marco Rubio, President Trump, 100% behind this. I feel horrible that we lost 6 servicemen. Of course I do. So do you. But this, for me, was in the making, should have been done a long time ago. What does Peter King think?
I agree 100%. And I really have no patience listening to these Democrats saying, wasn't an attack imminent? And it had to be done now. The fact is, you're talking about an evil regime. And to me, it's like saying, should we have taken out Hitler in 1939, even though he hadn't started killing Jews yet, hadn't actually started invasions? Maybe he did the year before, but he wasn't going to do any more. The fact is, this is an evil guy. How we go about doing it, that we can have an honest debate about. But the president, the commander-in-chief, he made the decision. I support that decision. And even if I didn't fully support it, I would be supporting him because we're now in a war and we're against an evil person. There's not two sides to this. It's not like we say, well, was Iran really going to attack anyone? Listen, what they did in Israel in October 7th, it goes beyond Israel. That was an attack on humanity. And that's what they would do to everyone once they get the opportunity. So if we get the chance now, if they're in a moment of weakness and we can take them out, we have to do it. And also these people say, are we going to be there 2 weeks, 3 weeks? He's the commander-in-chief, and I don't want people like Tucker Carlson, or for that matter, J.D. Vance. I hope he's not having a negative influence here. To me, Marco Rubio knows exactly what he's doing. He should be the one the president's relying on. I'm not telling the president what to do, but I think he's doing the right thing in relying on Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio knows what's going on. He's a tough person. And all these apologists, the Steve Bannons and the Megyn Kellys and the Marjorie Taylor Greens, I mean, this is absurd. And you're with the country or you're not. And this is not to me, it's not open to debate as to who's right and who's wrong. There could be an honest debate about when we go in. That's been resolved. We stand with the president. He's commander-in-chief, and that's it.
Well said, Peter King. Now, for what it's worth, I've got some people on the inside. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but they told me that J.D. Vance fought this tooth and nail, that he was not with the president, not with Marco Rubio. I'm not surprised. Again, I said time and time again on this show, I'm not a big J.D. Vance guy. He loves Tucker Carlson. He employs his kid. He hangs out with all these people. I'm a Marco Rubio guy. So I was told by somebody who's in the know that J.D. Vance fought this every step of the way because he's part of that cabal, right? That Tucker, Megyn Kelly, all those people. But getting back to this, I got a question from Sarah Palin on this show yesterday because she's anti-war, and she said, we voted for Trump, based on new wars, and I explained to her this is not a new war. This is a 47-year-old war that they started. President Trump just has the balls to finish it. She agreed, but she said, well, what happens down the road? And I said, I don't know. She said, well, are there going to be boots on the ground? And I said, well, I don't know. So I know you very, very well, Peter. You're all in like I am with this effort, but when you start to talk about the possibility of boots on the ground, when we start to figure out what Iran looks like in 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, that's where I think Peter King has some questions. Yes?
Yeah, we live in a dangerous world. And the fact is that nobody wants boots on the ground. But why do we have an army? I mean, the idea is you have an army in case there needed to be boots on the ground. And the president, to me, loses credibility in dealing with the adversary if they know all they have to do is wait us out. Listen, Iran can wait us out for 5 or 6 weeks. As long as they have a couple 100,000 people, they're in good shape. So if they can just hold us out, knowing that at that stage the president's going to have to stop, he has to, as he said the other day, he's not going to rule anything out. And we can't live in a world where we're saying we're never going to do this, we're never going to do that. It's a dangerous world. And there are times when boots may have to be on the ground. Nobody wants it, but the fact is that can be a reality. And we can't just put a wall around us. We tried that with the isolationists in the 1930s. It didn't work. Nobody wants to be going into war, but the best way to avoid war is for the enemy to know you're there, and you will use it if you have to. So I didn't vote for President Trump because I thought he was never going to go to war no matter what. I mean, what do we do if China, let's say, invades us? We can't use our troops. I mean, this is crazy. So you have to let the enemy think that you are willing to use every possible weapon, every possible resource that you have available. if in fact they do challenge us. So no, I did not vote for President Trump because I thought he was never going to go to war. I thought he would never go into a needless war. He would never provoke war for the sake of it. But Iran is a lethal enemy, and an enemy to us and to our closest allies.
No, I couldn't agree more. And you mentioned China, and I had a great conversation with Gordon Chang about an hour and a half ago on this show, and nobody knows China more than Gordon does. And, you know, the conversation centered around Iran. If you're playing golf, you know, you play golf, Peter, you're on the putt, right? You're on the green, I should say. You got a nice little putt in front of you. That's Iran. I know that sounds kind of small when they've got 90 million people and we've lost 6 service members, but you're on the green. That's the putt. China, that is the shot from the box, from the tee.
Yep.
Iran's a short game. China is the long game. You agree with that, yes?
Oh, yeah. Listen, we took out Iran's Navy in 2 or 3 days. I mean, China has a monumental army. So we have to realize that when not everything is going to be as quick as this one. And by the way, no war is easy. This is not going to be easy either. I mean, what do we do after 4 or 5 weeks if Iran has not surrendered? Do we just stop, or do we go to eliminate every possible weapon? And then what do we do? So we have to try to foresee all these things. War is never tidy and neat and easy. And China will be 10 times, 1,000 times more difficult than that. But to me, the way to convince China not to be moving against us is to see how devastating we can be in Iran. And that's the only way, to me, that we can do it, is you have to show strength and you have to use it effectively and responsibly. Otherwise, the enemy is going to try and take advantage of us.
You know, Pete, on the way out, I had my wife's friend texted me Saturday morning. She said, "Oh, my God, we bombed Iran. Here comes World War III. I brought this up with Gordon Chang as well. And I said, calm down. Will you take it easy, World War III? Well, what about China and Russia? What about them? You just mentioned China. Yes, they've got a huge military. They're not as good as us. They're not as powerful as us. They're not as strong as us. They're not as organized as us, with Pete Hegseth at the head. And by the way, they're broke. Their economy is in the dumper. Russia, as you've been pointing out, better than anybody, Pete, for the better part of 4 years, they're involved in this dogfight. Ukraine is putting up a tremendous battle. They are spending all their money and all their time just trying to beat Ukraine, who they really should have beaten in a matter of months, not years. So the idea that World War III, that China and Russia, you see, we're operating, Peter, from a place of strength. Right now, we've got the best army in the world. There's no doubt about that. Trump is making money again. China and Russia cannot boast that. So if you're out there today and you're talking about World War III like Marjorie Taylor Greene has done, you sound stupid. Agree?
Well, she is stupid. I mean, I don't know why they ever gave her any credibility to begin with. She has no idea what she's doing. Well, listen to her. You're right. We are the dominant power in the world. We got to keep it that way. We got to go forward. We got to keep building the economy. We have to keep expanding the military. And we have to let the enemy know we will do whatever we have to do when our national interests are involved. And that's what I think the president's showing here in Iran. And I think that he has to keep it up. I'm sure he will. And when people say, you know, we're too close to Israel, we couldn't be closer to Israel. We should be. They share our values. They have a tremendous military. And they do a lot of the stuff that we otherwise have to do ourselves. You want to call it the dirty work, whatever you want to call it. Israel does it. They've always been there for us. Up till now, the British, even though I'm not a great fan of the British Empire per se, they have been with us. They're not right now. I think that has to be addressed. It has to be because we do need them. They need us. We need, they need us a lot more than we need them. But they do have valuable intelligence. But they gotta get their act together. This is crazy. That listen, Europeans can drive you crazy. They love to talk about talking. They set up meetings to have more meetings. Whenever I would deal with them in Bosnia, they were not saying, if we get involved in Bosnia, it's going to be a 20-year war. Bill Clinton got involved, it was over in 1 week. I mean, they love to talk. They love to talk. They love to have strategy to talk about strategy. And they go on and on. And one thing about Trump, he has no time for BS. Either you do it or you don't. Right now he's doing it, and these other allies should fall in line.
Pete King, as always, that's a great appearance. Not good, great. Thank you so much, my man. Love you. Thank you so much.
And take care of yourself in that parking lot, okay?
Don't worry, I got Dom here. Dom's like ready. He's got more firepower than David Koresh. He's ready to go. Sid and Friends in the morning. We're on the road today. Thank you, Peter King, broadcasting live from the West Orange site of Gastroenterology Associates of New Jersey. You can find them online at ganjllc.com. That's Ganj. Schedule your very important colonoscopy screening and do it today. In fact, we'll talk again at the very end of the show to the great Dr. George Pavlou and my friend Stephen Puchik. They'll be on later after we hear from Miranda Devine, Joe Potasnik, and others. It's the Wednesday edition of Sid and Friends in the Morning, live from West Orange, New Jersey. And we roll on right after these words.
That's a wrap for this minicast. Everything you need to know in 10 minutes or less. Short, sharp, and straight to the point. Don't forget to follow, rate, and share with your friends. For more bite-sized takes, go to WABCRadio.com/minicast and download the 77 WABC app. See you next time for a new episode. Stay curious, stay sharp, and keep the conversation going so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.